Hello everyone. A few months back, I had shared my stock story video with all the details about Inox Wind, including its history, the transition that the industry has faced, and the future expectations in the video. I won't be repeating most of those things in this video. I'll be sharing just the updates that we have so far after the first quarter and the second quarter results that we have seen, and the management's opinion and whatever management has shared in their con call, the latest con call that I have managed to attend. So let's begin. So for that video, if you would like to have a look at that full detailed video, stock story video on Inox Wind, I'm sharing the link in the description below or the I button above. So I would request you to do have a look at that for a more thorough knowledge about Inox Wind. So this industry, the entire sector, wind energy sector, has been through a painful period of transition from the feed-in tariff regime which was applicable till FY17, and now we are in the auction regime. Over the last 3 years, the government of India has conducted regular auctions for renewable energy, so both solar as well as wind. But unfortunately, the infrastructure was not ready everywhere, and that took some time. So now that transition period is now over. In fact, it got over sometime in the months of January to March quarter of this year. Companies like Inox Wind were almost well prepared to start executing the orders that they had piled up from the auctions. And unfortunately for all of us, the COVID lockdown was announced in the second half of March. And since then, they had to shut down their factories, the labor went back home, and even after the lockdown was lifted and the company was allowed to manufacture, the labor availability was a big issue. So that took some time to resolve, and once that got resolved, the heavy monsoon occurred, and that added to further delay. So finally, after the monsoon, the company in their con call has mentioned that now they have already started full-scale executions of all these projects. Okay, most of these orders that they have piled up. The total order book at the start of FY21 was over 1400 megawatts. That's a substantial order book. I had shared the details in the previous video. So most of these orders comprise of orders from the auctions SECI 1 to SECI 4. Now SECI is the organization, Government of India organization, which is conducting the auctions on a regular basis. So they have conducted auctions till SECI 9 so far. Okay, the latest auction was SECI 9, but as the industry was still waiting for execution of orders, the only orders till SECI 4 have been translated into order book for companies like Inox Wind. So in fact, fresh orders are now expected to pour in, means from SECI 5 to SECI 9, the auction winners are expected to start issuing tenders or placing orders for equipment from this month onward, because the execution has already started in October. So Inox Wind is also expecting substantial orders from the winners of SECI 5 to SECI 9 auctions. In fact, it's the capacity expected to be auctioned, means they have already auctioned. The orders placed are expected to be in excess of 10,000 megawatt. So that's a huge number. And Inox Wind is hoping, in fact it's pretty confident it will garner well over 15% market share. In fact, 15% is my expectation. They are having a much higher expectation. I prefer to be a little conservative on that front. Before this transition in the feed-in tariff regime, Inox Wind was enjoying a market share of just about 10%. So there will be substantial improvement on that. In fact, from SECI 1 to SECI 3, Inox Wind got more than 25% market share of all the orders. So maybe they could still manage to get more than 20% or maybe even 25% of all the orders. But let's be conservative. I am hoping that it will get over 15% of market share from this entire auction regime orders. Okay, so even from these new expected orders of 10,000 megawatt plus, out of that, Inox Wind may get at least 1,500 megawatt orders, which could be executed over the next maybe 3 years or so. Okay, so capacity utilization, as we all know, since the plants means the orders were not getting executed for the last 3 years, it had dipped to below 10% levels. Inox Wind has a order means capacity of 1600 megawatts per annum, and it was barely doing 100 megawatt or maybe 150 megawatt at the most during most of the years in the last 3 financial years. Now, it's expected that the capacity utilization will suddenly increase to over 50% in the next financial year. Maybe it will start improving the second half of this year, but I'm hoping that in FY22, that is the next financial year, the capacity utilization will jump to over 50%. Okay. Now on the capital front, means Inox Wind did lot of recovery from means its receivables. Means its receivables figure had dropped substantially over the last 3 or 4 or 5 quarters. That was a good positive thing. And now Inox Wind has raised certain capital, certain long-term capital via non-convertible debentures at a 9.5% per annum interest rate. Now, they were currently relying more on advances from customers, and that is a pretty high interest payments that they were getting. But now they are means they have raised money at 9.5%, which is a fairly decent rate of interest, and this money is going to be used mainly for working capital. Means they are ramping up the production of equipment, wind turbine generators, and they'll be needing this capital. So they already raised 200 crores. They are expected to raise another 200 crores. The first 200 crores that they have raised is through a subsidiary which is executing projects, and the second 200 crores will be done in the main Inox Wind Limited, which will be manufacturing the equipment. So they're preparing themselves for ramping up their production as well as execution of orders. And Inox Wind is expecting that once the orders start getting executed, the cash flows will improve substantially, and once the cash flows improve, they won't need any more capital, external capital. Means the profits from these orders itself will be sufficient to finance future expansions or future increase in capacity utilization and so on. Okay, so that's a good thing. That's during the con call, the management sounded very positive that finally these things are happening. Means they have already ramped up production, they have already started execution of orders. So they have already seen all these things progress in the month of October. We are already in the month of November, so they sounded very positive during their con call, and that's the big factor that we have right now. So we can expect that finally Inox Wind and maybe the entire wind sector in general will improve from here on substantially after 3 years of almost negligible business. Now for the new product launch. Now Inox Wind has been saying that their 3.3 megawatt new wind turbine generator model is almost ready and expected to be launched by the end of this financial year. Now we have more updates about it, that this new model is prototype is almost ready. They are preparing for a prototype launch maybe during the third quarter itself, and they will be commercially launching this product at the start of FY22. So this product will become available, means they'll start executing orders that they have. In fact, they have a substantial order book already for this particular model. Out of the 1400 megawatt that I had mentioned, nearly 500 or 550 megawatts of orders are particularly for this model. So this model orders will start getting executed from the start of FY22. Okay, so and this model is expected to be a lot more efficient in power production compared to the current model. Obviously it will be a little pricey, and maybe it will help boost Inox Wind's profit margins as well. Now to some estimates for second half of this financial year and for the next financial year. I'm expecting Inox Wind to commission between 100 to 200 megawatts in the second half. Remember, I'm talking about second half, not just a single quarter. So we have Q3 and Q4 of this financial year remaining, and during this period, I'm expecting Inox Wind to commission around between 100 to 200 megawatts. Maybe I'm a little conservative, but I prefer to do that. So if they do manage to commission between 100 to 200 megawatts during these two quarters, the combined revenues for these two quarters could well be over 1000 crores. Maybe it could touch, it could be closer to 1500 crores, but let's say it will be over 1000 crores. And with this kind of revenue, then the company is expected to return to profits. Okay, after 7 quarters of losses, the company will finally be able to report some decent profits during the second half of this financial year. So that is one big positive that all shareholders are waiting for. Then for the next financial year, I am expecting the company to commission between 500 to 750 megawatts of orders. Okay, this is not a huge figure, means the company has managed to do that in the past during the feed-in tariff regime, and now with they have a huge order book at hand, they can certainly look forward to regaining those capacity utilization levels and that activity level. So 500 to 750 megawatt of orders for the next financial year are certainly possible. And if they do manage a figure between that range, the revenues could shoot up between 3,500 to 4,500 crores. Remember, as of now, the trailing 12-month revenue figure for Inox Wind is under 700 crores, below 700 crores, and from that point we are talking about revenue figure of between 3,500 to 4,500 crores for the next financial year. That's a huge jump that we are expecting over the next 12 to 18 months. Okay, it's not a very long distance target, it's just the next 12 to 18 months figure that we are talking about. And once these revenues shoot up, the operations are normalized, the capacity utilization is improved, then we can expect the EBITDA, that is the operating profit margin, also to come back to the normal range. The Inox Wind was enjoying around 15 or in fact over 15% of EBITDA margins. So let's hope that the company does come back to 15% of EBITDA margin, and the net profit margin too will suddenly improve to at least in the range of 7 to 10%. Okay, that is my expectation. I think this is achievable also. So if they do manage such a revenue figure and these operating profit and net profit margins, then the FY22 net profit figure could be close to around 300 crores, a little here and there. So 300 crores of net profit, what does that mean? Inox Wind's equity capital is comprised of just about 22 crore shares, okay, little over 22 crore shares. So if we divide the 300 crores of net profit or expected potential net profit for FY22 by 22.19 crores, then we get a figure, EPS figure of somewhere in the range of rupees 12 to 15. Now, what does that mean? Means Inox Wind's fair value, in my view, in my opinion, I'm expecting it to be over rupees 300. Okay, if all these figures that I have spoken about, if Inox Wind does manage these figures for the next financial year, then we'll be talking about Inox Wind's share price fair value of over rupees 300 for the next financial year. Remember, as of now, what is the situation? Let's see. Currently, Inox Wind's share price is just over rupees 36 per share, and its market cap is just about rupees 800 crores. So that is a very tiny figure compared to the kind of profits that Inox Wind is expected to generate from the next financial year. Yes, currently the situation is bad. It was bad for the last 3 years, and that is the reason why Inox Wind and other wind energy players suffered immensely. Means they lost a substantial value in terms of market cap erosion over the last 3 years. Now it's time for recovery. currently market is not factoring in this potential recovery in the industry activity. Okay, so I am expecting this, and I'm invested in this company with an hope, with an expectation of this strong recovery. So after over 3 years, in fact, during the con call, the management actually sounded super excited, and they're already seeing the increased activity level in their factory, in their on the fields where the projects are getting executed. So this is the big positive that I'm hoping to translate into strong numbers in the coming quarters and the next financial year. The another big positive is promoter stake in Inox Wind is very high at 75%, which is the maximum permissible limit, and I'm not expecting any dilution on this front. So because of 75% promoter holding, the floating stock in Inox Wind in the market is very low. Okay, and this low floating stock could result in very sharp price movements whenever it happens. I'm not saying the price will suddenly shoot up immediately or next month or next quarter. I cannot predict that exactly. Okay, but if the company does produce some good results, it does announce some big order wins in the coming weeks or coming months, then these things are potential triggers for the stock to suddenly jump. Okay, and whenever it jumps, it could jump very sharply because the floating stock is very low. Okay, just 25% of non-promoter stake will get traded in the market. So because of that, whenever the price movement happens, it is going to be very sudden and very sharp. So what could be the triggers? As I mentioned, it could be the results, maybe Q3 onwards. If it does manage to report some profit, that could act as a trigger, or maybe some order wins. The company is expected to announce some order wins in the coming weeks, so that could act like a trigger. During IPO time, the company's market cap was, in fact, the valuation was over 7,000 crores, and at this point, it is just 800 crores. So just look at the difference. This progress or this developments that I'm expecting to happen over the next few quarters or the next financial year could actually trigger the market cap to regain the IPO time valuation. Means from 800 crores currently, we could see it rallying towards 7,000 crores or maybe even beyond that in the coming next maybe 12 to 18 months or little more than that. Okay, so I would suggest that whatever information that I have shared so far, you may please have a check for yourself. These are my expectations, my views on Inox Wind, and I am super bullish on this stock, and I'm invested in this. So please be warned about it. So if you feel that all these expectations are logical and believable, only then you may invest in it. It's your money, your capital, so you are responsible for it. Don't go just by somebody's word on while investing. You do your own research. Think whether the reasons that people like me have mentioned, that we have mentioned, are logical enough or not, whether they are really possible or not, and then decide to invest. Happy investing.